appointment of a borough engineer. Does anyone wish to make a motion regarding appointment of a borough engineer?
I'll make a motion to appoint Pickering Courts and Summerson as borough engineer with the condition that the fee schedule be discussed with them to bring in line with what we were anticipating with Gilmore for 2009, so based upon what we had budgeted.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I unfortunately couldn't stay for the entire meeting last week, but I did some other research and reviewed Cowan's presentation along with the others. And I also was asked a question at the meeting regarding Pickering Courts in Somerset in terms of why the borough let them go, and I think my comment at the time was poor performance. I've since learned that when we were doing the Newtown Station project, Pickering Courts in Somerset was the solicitor, was the engineer at the time. And when it came to stormwater management, they didn't have any experience whatsoever with respect to stormwater management. And my concern is in that they didn't have any experience with stormwater management. How are they going to be able to pick up on our stormwater management issues with Old Skunky? And I found it very interesting that Pickering Court in Somerset had to subcontract out to Gilmore to do the stormwater management activities associated with that project. And in looking at the credentials of Cowan and Company, I feel that Cowan is a better candidate.
I would actually like to comment as well. During the presentations, I think Cowan did a really good job of tying in what our needs are in the borough. They did some homework, they did some research, they came prepared. They were interested in what we were looking to do, but they also seemed like they had the tools and the technology to be a little more forward-thinking and the resources maybe to better serve us. I really think we'd get better service. I know there was a concern about the distance. I actually called the president and had a discussion with him about the concern that they are, the travel time. And he assured me they do about 7 boroughs, and the closest borough is rather close to them, but they do travel over 2 hours to the furthest borough. And they've had pretty good service, and we'd be able to actually follow up and get some feedback on that borough as far as how they service them. So, I think that we would get a better bang for a buck, so to speak, if we were to go with Cowan.
I would agree. I think they had a very good presentation, and I also agree that, not agree, but Pickering Court and Somerset was very straightforward with why they were released from the borough, and they did talk about it very openly. I still have the concern. I thought Cowan was very good, but I do have the concern about them being far away. And the more travel they do, the more pass-through expenses we give to our residents, and it's concerning about that. Their fee schedule was actually pretty high, if I recall correctly, as well.
They're all 10 to 12% higher than Gilmore.
Yeah, but they all did. They all were high, but they all said that they were willing to negotiate or discuss the fees. And I don't know. I don't know the process, but if we were to go with one, what is the time frame? If there is an issue, can it be changed? I just felt that they were really in touch with what our needs are, and I didn't sense that from Pickering.
I'm not an engineering expert, but I just felt that the PCS being local, having the history with the borough, they've been the long-standing engineer for the borough for many years back. They have a lot of information probably at their fingertips that another engineering company wouldn't have to reproduce. But my feeling was that they were the best fit. But
well, I think that observation is correct. That at the time, Jan Goza Sr. was very much involved with the borough, and when Jan retired, his service sort of deteriorated. And I think you got to look at the individual, and not necessarily the firm. And we all know most recently they were dismissed over in Tullytown. So I think we have to focus on why were they dismissed in Tullytown. Now, new brooms do sweep clean, as we all know, but I think from a qualification standpoint, I think Cowan, again, has better qualifications.
And actually from a fee schedule, trying to decipher the employee classifications, it is a little challenging, but the actual council meeting attendance, they would be cheaper, according to the fees that I spoke to the gentleman on the phone today and what PCS is charging. So that's just one fee, but it would be the meeting attendance would be less.
Same criteria, Gerard, that you levied in terms of working for the same fee structure we have with Gilmore, if you're concerned about fees.
Let me, excuse me, let me weigh in. I think the points that were made are very good and shows the process we've gone through in discussing the borough's need for an engineer. I thought that Pickering also brought the people in necessary to give us a level of comfort that things had definitely changed since those days about 3 years ago when things apparently had reached a point where the borough did not feel that it was being serviced, or the council did not feel that it was being serviced. And I remember being at that meeting, and unfortunately at the time there wasn't a lot of discussion about exactly why the engineer was being dismissed what appeared to be abruptly. I think in hindsight it turned out it was a servicing problem. That's pretty clear, but Pickering in the intervening years has changed itself, and I found their attitude and their answers to be very forthright and very clear. But as you say, John, if we find ourselves not satisfied, then we can certainly go elsewhere. But they are kind of the hometown firm, and I think the other thing worth mentioning is because of their history, they have a very, very deep knowledge of the borough, and their archives alone really represent the engineering history of the town. That has a value to us which is pretty incomparable when it comes to other firms, as good as they may be, who have applied for the position. So with that, I would be prepared to support Pickering as well. And as I say, if we have a problem, then we can always revisit this a month, 6 months, or a year from now as needed. And I was impressed by Cowan as well. I thought they were very, very forthright, very professional. I think we were lucky to have some other firms to select from.
I liked both of them. And they both have virtues. They both presented very well. Pickering has the Newtown history. Cowan really focused on its emphasis on serving boroughs, and in fact mentioned that they came to us and made only 2 proposals this year, both of them to boroughs, because that was the focus of their practice. They are some distance away.
I don't know if it can be achieved. I'd really like to reach a consensus among the council on this appointment. We're going to be working with our engineer a good deal this year, and I'm wondering, do we need an engineer? Do we need to make this appointment tonight? John conducted some further talks with Cowan. We had talked about talking to Pickering a bit more about its fee schedule, and might it be appropriate to give this matter some more thought?
I think that's a very good idea, considering the scope of the Stockburger, and the impact that it could have by maybe taking and getting more questions, maybe even asking for examples of what they've done in the past on something to that scale. I mean, maybe for them to come back and tell us what they've done and show us that we're getting the right engineering firm for that type of project. I agree. I mean, maybe if we can put this off and get some more information.
We have a motion and a second on the floor.
Well, I think, to Perry's comment, I guess I question what will it take to get us to a consensus, and how do you propose that we do that? I mean,
Well, one of the concerns was the fee schedule of both companies. Cowan's was a good bit higher than Pickering's, which was, as Bob mentioned, I think higher than we've been paying in the past in the South. And if there's some room on fee schedule, that may tend to bring us closer together, or closer to what we used to pay. There's been a concern about distance and mileage, and perhaps to allay our concerns about distance and mileage. But I'm actually more concerned with, we're going to be relying on our engineers a lot over the next couple of years, and I don't know that we can reach a consensus on the engineer, but I think it would be in everybody's, to everyone's benefit if the 6 of us, 7 of us, Dennis participated in the meetings as well, could come to an agreement as to who would best serve the borough.
Things. One, I would like to hear more about Pickering Court Somerset experience in stormwater management. And I think one of the conditions we may want to put forth, in all fairness to the firms, would be whether or not they would work for, to George's point, the Gilmore fee schedule.
that as well. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right. So the motion has been withdrawn. We'll be re-interviewing the 2 firms at the February work session.